Hello, it's Marlon from Spurs Kings TV. It is Monday. You don't know what time it is. It is time for the Monday pitch. However, I think there's only one guest this week that should be happy. The rest are quite disappointed. So, you know what? I'm going to bring out an order of happiness. So, first of all, the man that's in the championship where Spurs could be coming soon. Are you well?
Welcome. What are you saying, bro?
1-0 win for QPR this weekend. So you lot are like, last when we started this podcast, you lot were like 18th standard. But every week we
struggling.
But now you're just getting the wins each week, apart from the Leicester game. It's all been rosy, innit?
I told you, cup competitions were no good.
QPR don't know this cup.
Yeah, once we get on a row in the league, we'll be all right. Maybe we'll get into mid-table and just plateau there and just stay there. Maybe we might make a little push for playoffs. We're not that far, you never know. But I'm not counting my chickens yet, man. I'm just happy to be where we are. Nice clean sheet, and onwards and upwards.
The next man, Graham Potter, Crystal Palace.
Nah, that's all right. We got no forwards. I'm just glad, we're smart enough to address our management issues straight away.
Is there any need for that? It's a bit early.
What, you started? There was a glint in your eye, like, oh, I think I've got him there.
All right, it's a bit early, man. Allow me.
How you doing, man?
No, all good. Now, do you know what? Thank God for Crystal. Well, no, thank God for you lot, because it just means that Ange hopefully slowly going out the door. Who knows? But we'll come back to you because we've got a segment of our show about you anyway.
Oh dear.
The next one. I've got to bring him out. He's with me. He's probably, we won't talk about him too much, but I'm just going to find out how his weekend was. Chris, you well?
Yeah, I'm all right. I thought I was coming out last, to be honest, but yeah.
To be honest, we didn't have the worst weekend.
Well,
we were expecting it.
Keep bringing people out though in happiness order. I'm never coming on first. That aside, I'm all good, mate.
And I'll save the best till last. The co-host of the show took the reins off me last week so I could have a week off. But his team got a bit of a pacing this weekend. Mitchie, come on, mate. Talk to me.
How's it going? Hey, all I've got to say is Bournemouth got it spot on. I can't really say anything other than that. It was a special performance by them. And if 7 Premier League games ago, someone said to me we'd end up with 18 points from 7 games, I'd have took it. So,
all right. Do you know what? Let's carry on with the Bournemouth theme, right? Iraola seems to be doing his job. I wouldn't say quietly, because Spurs fans in the community are kind of going, this is the guy. And I'm kind of looking at it going, is he the real deal, or Spurs fans just want anybody coming in? And every time a job comes up, Areola's name seems to be coming up time after time after time. I'm going to start with you, Stocky, first. Mm-hmm. What have you made of Bournemouth so far, and the way the last 18 months he's been there? It's been the same time as Ange. What have you made of Bournemouth so far this season?
I proper had the humble pie last year because you know when they appointed him, I sort of didn't even recognise the name. I must admit, I was like, oh, well, you know, they've been struggling for a little while. He'll be first to go, and but he's done so well. And do you know what? The club as a whole, I think we're going to go back to our usual theme. I think the players they get him, clearly players they want, and players he can work with that fit his vision. They've done great business, and he's just coached them superbly because they've had some notable wins over the past, what we'll say, 12 months at least. Because
Well, yeah, because they've beaten some top teams at home. They're the I think everyone was surprised when they completely toppled City at the time. They've toppled Arsenal.
Yeah.
You know, these are no mugs at the moment.
Yeah, and like I say, they reinvested well. So obviously they sold Solanke for big bucks, and then they go and get Porto centre forward and things like that. And is it what's his name, Poison or something like that from Juventus? And like, although Evan Wilson is a lot, they're not breaking the bank for these players. They're all sort of like 10 to 15 euros. So the club's doing well, and Iraola's doing even better.
Sink, I'm going to come to you, right? So,
Yeah.
At the beginning of last season, I think Bournemouth had 1 win in 10. Everyone was saying it was the wrong appointment, this, that, and the other. Solanke starts to hit form, and they start to go on a little bit of a run. And then this season, they sold their top goal scorer to Spurs.
Yeah.
But yet they've carried on. They've carried on with the form.
Yeah.
Is Iraola the real deal? Is, you know, because him and Mikel Arteta go back. They've come from the same school apparently, best mates. What's he doing differently to why it's worked for him? Because Bournemouth wanted to get rid. You know, it was the whole West Ham and Lopetegui situation. It didn't start off too well.
I mean, from my perspective, Spanish coaches right now, there's so many out there that are very credible, very good coaches. He's proven to be a very good coach and a very good manager. Going into Bournemouth in the beginning, I don't think people really had much faith that he would be where he is right now. That's for sure. I think I myself was probably more on the Gary O'Neill side, so I was more hoping that Gary O'Neill could like prove a point where he kind of did towards the end of the season at Wolves, and while Bournemouth just survived. So you kind of thought, well, next season, especially, you know, is he going to be able to you know, get them where they need to be? And he's not only done that, I think he's kind of surpassing expectations, especially right now, like losing Solanke, and you know, as Docky says, getting good business done. But also, it's proven to have been really good business because he's, you know, Bournemouth have, like everyone else, got injuries, but they seem to be coping with things at the moment. So yeah, I mean, it's very unexpected to expect Bournemouth to be this consistent. But like you said, he's had some very big scalps. You know, doing things like, you know, Moyes at Everton having a really strong team struggled to do, beating anyone in the top four, and he's beaten a lot of the top teams.
Chris, I'll come to you because obviously a lot of Spurs fans are going, bring him in, bring him in, bring him in. Right. And look, he's got, as you can see on the screen to the left of us, he had 10 injuries at the weekend, 10 first team injuries. A lot of people said, a lot of them don't play, but I believe Unai, Eve Nilsson, Sensei, Tavernier, Alex Scott, Smith, since whatever his name is, I'm not Lewis, all play. The rest kind of are around the first team. He 10 injuries. He still managed to go to Newcastle and pick up a massive result. And we'll get Mitchie's take on it because obviously he obviously watched the game and watched Newcastle, and he even said at the beginning, Bournemouth did a job.
Yeah. I mean, I think I'm not a Bournemouth expert. I don't watch every one of their games, but they one thing they do seem to do is adapt to their playing a little bit, right, and understand what the strengths and weaknesses of the opponent are, and exploit them really well. And he sets the team up to be difficult to play against, plays players in the positions they're best to play in. It does all kind of, these are not revolutionary things, but all the basics.
That did, Chris.
Does them well. Well, I'm told they're basics. Obviously, they're too good for some managers. But the main thing, I was impressed by the little form table there. I think I'm right in saying that if we lose our next match, we go bottom of the form table, which is impressive.
Oh yeah. Well,
we're playing Leicester, aren't we? So.
Yeah, because we're playing Leicester.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, the reason why Spurs fans want him is, he's doing well, obviously, but I think he's giving off Poch vibes, isn't he? This kind of not that well-known guy who's coaching in Spain, comes to a small South Coast club and does really well. And
so, my question to you: would lightning strike twice?
I don't know if it would be that, though, would it necessarily? I get what you're saying. I'd apply that question to if we got Poch back. Would Poch do the same again? I don't think so. That's a different question.
Yeah.
But I suppose in a wider sense, like if you're saying, could he do what Poch did at Spurs? I think it's very unlikely that anyone could do that. You need to be a very good coach, as Poch was. He made players better, which it seems like Iraola is doing that.
Yeah.
But you also need to be lucky. And there were some good players at Tottenham, which there aren't really now. There was also a young striker who hadn't really made it through to the first team called Harry Kane. Will Lancashire's not giving me those Harry Kane vibes. So, I don't think he's going to be as lucky if he did come to Tottenham. We're a less attractive club, though, I think now. I mean, you've got to ask the question. I mean, money is the only reason why he'd come. You wouldn't come for sporting ambition, would you? So, but I don't know. I think it'd be very unlikely that anyone.
But realistically, realistically, just on that, would he not come to Spurs as a stepping stone for a bigger job?
I think it depends what options he's got, right? If if it's now or it gets to the summer and it's no one else is on the table and Tottenham come along and say we're going to change. I think he's on 1 million a year. We're going to give you 5, 6, 7, 8 million a year.
Yeah,
it's pretty hard to turn that down. But if things are going well for him and there's the prospect of other jobs available, I think he might well think, why would I go? Like if there's any other viable alternative, and I'm not saying these clubs will be looking for managers, but if Villa want a manager or Newcastle want a manager, why would you come to Tottenham? I don't think it makes any sense. So if there's any competition for him, I don't think he comes to Tottenham, which is probably a reason why, if we've got any ambition at all, we should probably move now because there's less competition mid-season than there will be at the end of the season. Just my thoughts.
Mitchie, talk to me. What did he do on the weekend that no other club has been able to do for the last 2 months against Newcastle? How did he manage to pull this one out of the bag?
Well, West Ham done it.
Yeah, forget West Ham.
You won there, but we were rubbish that day. Bournemouth were brilliant on Saturday, to be fair.
They were.
What I'm trying to get out of you, Mitch, obviously we're on a Spurs channel. Basically, advertise, if Iraola was going for the Spurs job, what did you see at the weekend to go, actually, this is why Spurs fans are excited by this prospect?
Just basing it on Saturday, because I don't watch much of Bournemouth.
Yeah.
He set his team up to do exactly what every single team should do against us when Dan Burn plays. Is make him play a difficult pass out from the back. And try and make him do it as many times during the game as you possibly can, because you will get the ball back 9 times out of 10. Unless he's playing it easy to the fullback, or Tonali drops in and he's got a good bit of space, or Bruno drops in and he's got a good bit of space, he will give the ball away if you make him play football. And that is the main thing that they did over and over and over again on Saturday. That's not taken away from the other. They were brilliant in all aspects of the game. They defended well. Their wingers were electric the full game and roasted both of our fullbacks. But the main thing they did was stop us playing out. So their wingers went high against both of our fullbacks, and then they suffocated the 2 centre midfielders trying to stop in and get the ball, which was making Dan Burn trying to bypass them to either hit Isak or Joe Linton, and he's not capable of that pass. And that was the main thing they did that stopped us playing. And after the first 10, 15 minutes, we just couldn't get our rhythm going. It might have been an off day overall without it, but they just suffocated us for the first 10, 15 minutes and we didn't recover. Simple as that.
Do you feel like it was a one-off for Newcastle? Do you think it was just one of them cases that Iraola had a game plan, it worked, but not many teams would do that to you?
I think we'll have to wait and see, because if other teams try the same thing and it works again, it's not one-off. But I at this point in time, I would say yes, it's more of a blip. I'd see it's more of a blip for us than anything else, because we've played some very good teams over the last few weeks. We've been putting teams to the sword quite comfortably, regardless of how they play against us. So
Yeah.
I can't see how that is going to be the way to beat us consistently going forward, especially if we play Botman and Cher instead of Dan Burn, because that will not work with them two at centre back.
So, question to all of you right now. Obviously, we've heard a bit about Iraola. Do we think he's going to be the next big thing in England, or do you think it's just he's doing well at Bournemouth, but that this is as far as he will go? Sink, I'll start with you.
Well, I mean, you look at Gary Potter as an example. He was like the next biggest thing. Went to Chelsea and it's kind of deflated. So you're only as good as your last result, really. You know, he could go on a losing streak for the rest of the season, and then no one will think anything further. But I mean, I hope he can maintain it. It's good to see a small team like Bournemouth doing big things in the Premier League, having to compete against what they have to compete against. But can he do it? Can he be finishing? We'll have to. I think he'll finish in Europa League spot this season, and then we'll see what they do next season, because that's always the tough proposition, is when you're playing midweek in Europe and trying to compete in the league as well.
Chris, do you want him at Spurs?
Oh yeah, he would be my number one choice. I mean, what? It depends how you interpret your question. Like, is this as good as it gets for him? I mean, he definitely lands a better job, right? Unless Bournemouth absolutely tank for the rest of the season, but I can't see that happening. So he lands a better job. Where that is, I don't know. How he does, who knows? But I mean, the evidence is there to suggest that he'd do a reasonable job somewhere. I mean, you've seen Company absolutely rubbish at Burnley, right? He's got the Bayern job. De Zerbi left Brighton, went to Marseille. So there's definitely better job for him than Bournemouth somewhere, and he'll definitely go on to better things. How he does there. I mean, honestly, if I was like his mate, I'd be just give him a quick call or just message him on WhatsApp and say, mate, don't take the Spurs job. Like, I want him to, but if anyone's got any compassion, you wouldn't want to inflict that to anybody. So I kind of hope for his sake that he doesn't, because go somewhere where you got a chance of really doing something special, right? I don't think you do it.
It doesn't matter, Chris. We'll be in the Championship. It's fine.
I mean, he could win the Championship, but yeah. Who knows?
Stocky, do you think it's just a one-off, or do you think he's a future manager in the making?
I think it'd be good. I'm not even sure if it necessarily be in this country. I reckon there could be some teams on the continent wanting him as well, because he's from the Basque region, and they've got quite a lot of like top level managers at the minute. So he's just part of that culture they've got there, and I think he will. I thought Sink made a good point. If they qualify for Europe, yeah. Deep. If they qualify for Europe and they continue to do well next year, he's gonna have because that's the acid test. It's good to get in Europe for one season, but if you can, win games in Europe and maintain a consistent league form, you're gold dust in the managerial world, didn't you? So
to be fair, De Zerbi probably did the same, where he managed to be able, even though they didn't finish as high as they could, where he was winning games in Europe and still maintaining a level in the Premier League.
Yeah, everyone's going to be looking the next 4 months till the end of the season. If that hasn't made up their mind, I reckon starts off next season well. Them big sides will be circling. I hope, like in this country and abroad. I think.
Mitch,
I was just quickly going to say he's pretty much. I was just googling him, a bit of information. He's pretty much a one club guy, isn't he? With Bilbao. So if they came in for him, but they're doing really well in La Liga, so I can't imagine that they would at the moment. But someone like Bilbao, like Stocky says, I reckon will come in for him.
Mitch, would you take him at Newcastle to replace Eddie?
No. If Eddie got sacked, yes. I wouldn't make the swap now. No. I think he looks like he could be a fantastic manager, and he probably will move on to a pretty big job for his next.
So would you know? So say you came to the end of the season and say Eddie gets you 7th.
Yeah.
Talking purposes, he might get you higher than that. Would you not? And obviously, your club's quite ambitious because you can see by the way they're moving. They are. I'm going to give your owners credit. They even though they can't spend the money, you can see that they're trying to do stuff. Would you take him at the end of the season if you finish somewhere? If you didn't finish in a European place, would Iraola be the man? You go, you know what? I can see why they've gone that way.
Well, they'd probably go for him, but if we don't finish in a European place, that probably means Bournemouth have. So I don't think we get him anyway.
Why not? You got money.
Yeah, we've got money, but
Spurs
if he's an
him.
ambitious manager and he wants to actually try and prove himself properly, he'll want to be in Europe. He won't want to drop back down to Newcastle and then try and have to prove himself again from there.
Cool. All right, let's move on to the actually quite funny, the team that are sitting below Bournemouth in the table. Now, this team didn't get their win until the 27th of October was when they got their first win. And funny enough, it came against Spurs. Now they're above Spurs. Let's talk about Glasner quickly, because obviously, I'm going to start with you, Stocky, right this time, because obviously you got to witness it first hand at the weekend. And they completely just kind of took you apart in the second half. What did you see about Palace recently? Because they're completely on form, and the Glasner had a really bad start. How what did you see at Palace at the weekend to go? Actually, this manager's doing it really under the radar.
I don't think they were ever particularly poor at any point. I would say at the beginning of the season they just lost Elise, and Mateta played international competition. Was it the Olympics or something? Was it the Olympics in the summer? He played for anyway.
France in the Olympics.
So I think he played right through to the beginning of the season. So it's taken him quite a while to get fit and get back to speed or whatever. And they were very controlled. Obviously, there was mitigating circumstances that we only had 2 forwards on the pitch. So, but he was flexible enough to go, well, they've only got 2 forwards, so we can progress the game a bit further how we want and pen him in a bit. He was very good at Frankfurt, and he's carried it on, and he's just got everything quite harmonious, and they know how they want to play, and it's very consistent. It's not always eye-catching, but it's extremely consistent, and that's...
Do you think he's doing it the Palace way? And what I mean by that is, this is typical Palace, where bad start, mediocre middle, they'll have a bit of a blip during just around February, March, and then they'll just go to the end of the season and they'll go on this winning formula run. And that's exactly what he's doing right now. Do you think that's he's following the same pattern?
I just think he's got his first team there. Although the Chabala thing was a bit of a kick in the smoothies for them, because he was a part of a settled defence, but they didn't have much to defend on Saturday. But I just think he's got a good settled team out there. They've got a goal scorer, like a proper goal scorer who can do the lot. And when you've got that, all you got to do is keep the other side out because you fancy yourself to score. With Eze just behind, it's just a really nicely balanced team. And, you've got to give him credit.
Mitch, what's your thoughts on Glasner? Obviously, came in last year, done fantastic. This seat started a bit shaky. Look, come on, you don't win your first win in October, and everyone's going to be like, oh, maybe this is typical Crystal Palace. But he's managed to turn it around, and he seems to be getting result after result after result at the moment. Nothing seems to be phasing him.
Yeah, at the minute they're on a good run, and they had a good run in the last season. My worry would be the run at the start of the season, and that he plays a certain way. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. There's nothing else. It's a little bit like a couple of other managers that have done a similar thing.
True.
Because he might have had players that were off form.
Yeah, because he started with 4 at the back at the beginning of the season, didn't work, and then had to revert back to his 3, and that suddenly started to come back into play in the last few weeks as well.
Yeah, but I think he's been playing the free again for quite a while. And yeah, they've had players out, but if you're going to miss a couple of players, or a couple of players are going to be a little bit off it, and your form is looking relegation-ish for a good chunk of the season, I would say that is something to do with the way he's managing the players. It can't just be when it's all rosy, he's great, and then all of a sudden it goes a bit wrong, and it's because he's got a few injuries and it's not his fault. He's kind of got to take it both ways.
Do you think it had something? So just going back on that, do you think because obviously he lost Jimmy Anderson in this window, he lost Elise. Eze, everyone said he'd come back from the Euros and he wasn't the same. And obviously Mateta was at the Olympics. Do you think it's just taken Crystal Palace a bit more time because they don't have the squad depth like others would?
Potentially, but you could potentially look at 4 or 5 other teams in exactly the same situation that weren't in relegation form, that had all of their mitigating circumstances going against them as well. And they haven't suffered the same way and had to wait all these months for their team to get playing again.
Chris?
I don't know if there's that many. If they have lost their best, or joint best player in Elise, so I think you could give him some slack for that. But yeah, I mean, it concerned me a little bit, and actually just building on what Mitch has just said, he did really well at Wolfsburg before he was at Frankfurt, but he left because he fell out with people. That would worry me a little bit. I know it's a couple of jobs ago now, but those kind of things I'd need to understand why that happened. Like, so I wouldn't be that keen on him, like, as potentially the next Spurs manager right now. I don't think his stock is as high as Iraola's. But if he keeps on doing what he's doing at the moment, they're doing well. They're in a good run of results. I do think as well that their squad is pretty crap. Actually, if you look at it, I would say Bournemouth have got much better, more talented players.
Quality players, yeah.
I think Palace's squad is pretty crap. So you've got to give them credit. Like, Stocky's bigging up Mateta or whatever. Like, he's all right.
Yeah, but he just ruined West Ham. Of course, he's going to big him up.
Yeah, I know, but I mean, is he that great, really? Like, I don't look at their squad and think.
Who would you rather have, Mateta or Calvert-Lewin, Marley?
He
was mustard at the weekend.
I mean, I used to use the measure before of like how many of them would get in the Spurs team, but the answer to that is probably all of them. So, yeah, but I don't think they're a great squad. So I think he's doing a reasonable job. Am I blown away by him? There's a few question marks for me still.
I'd have to disagree with that. I think the squads are very similar. Very, very similar in the fact that they've got a few kind of standout players, but other than that, it's...
Well, out of the two, you'd probably go the best player. But if you were to pick the best player in both squads, you'd probably go Eze, right?
Yeah, Eze and Semenyo.
But then, if you were to look at the front three compared to like Bournemouth's front three compared to Crystal Palace's, I'd probably pick Bournemouth's.
Oh, I'd say that's close. As a nine, I'm taking Mateta.
And even Nilsson, come on.
9, I'm taking Mateta all day long. And then it's just a question of whether you take whoever plays on the other side.
I'm taking even Nilsson, man.
Or Sarr.
I'm taking even Nilsson all day.
I agree. I like him. I think he looks good.
Yeah. With Cliver and Semenyo. Is it Semenyo? It's Semenyo, isn't it? Yeah. As a front three, they're more like the cohesion between the three of them is way much better than Palace have got.
They're more dynamic.
Yeah, they're more likely to do you harm than. Well, you saw it.
They played really well at the weekend. I'll give you that. And Semenyo is probably the best player out of the two squads, 100%. He's someone that's could easily go to a top 4 side. But I wouldn't say that Bournemouth are clearing away a better squad. Because I would have Mateta as the 9 all day long, and then you'd have Eze and you'd have Semenyo. You've got two of the Palace front three there, and then Sarr and whoever plays the other side.
Yeah, but I think that's the question for. I think that's a debate for like another day, because I personally would go for even Nilsson out of the two.
Fair enough.
Because I think there's been games and. Actually, look, Stocky could be right. It could be because obviously he came into the Premier League quite late. But if you look at the start at the beginning of the season, it's only because he's in form now, where I've seen more of Even Nilsson over the time where he's been in and out of form, but he's done more for the team. Where I don't think Mateta does that.
Mateta's still got more goals though, has he not?
He might do. I think he has more than Solanke, but it
Number
depends
9
on what. But it depends. But then if I look at my wingers, I'm probably thinking that Bournemouth was wingers plus strikers probably have more goals than Crystal Palace's. Because it's a free, isn't it? It's the whole Firmino, Salah, and Mane situation. Firmino didn't score many goals, but Salah and Mane made up. Firmino, and I think the same goes for
Kind of get that.
Sink. So, because on the whole Glasner situation, because obviously you've seen Eze firsthand, being a Palace fan.
Yeah.
Do you think he's going under the radar at the moment, or do you think he's just doing the job he's supposed to do?
I think currently he's going under the radar. I think had he maintained the form he had at the end of last season, then I think he would be a big standout for other jobs coming up. Other teams that maybe would have, pulled the trigger on their managers that aren't doing too well. Maybe they would be looking at a Glasner, but I think where he's been inconsistent or had a poor start to the season, I just think right now he is going under the radar, just going about his business, and that's probably the best thing for Palace and for himself as well.
Yeah.
For me, I don't think their squad there isn't enough depth in their squad to challenge for a European spot. So really, they're looking just to secure their status in the Premier League and try and make themselves a better prospect for next season. Really, is what they're looking at right now. I think that's the best thing for Glasner and for Palace. If he tries to move on to another big club, I think he should try and establish himself at Palace. I think it's a good fit for him right now, and I think it's a good fit for Palace right now as well. Determining what they've wanted to do for the last few seasons, well, longer from when they went and signed De Boer, they're now at a stage where they can actually get a technical playing manager.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Impressive.
Stocky, I'm going to leave the last one to you. The last question.
Mm-hmm.
If, before Potter was signed, if you had the choice between Glasner or Potter to come in, which one would you have picked?
That's a very good question, mate. I'd say Potter.
Yeah, that's why. It's very. I'm thinking of similarities in what they've done at respective clubs, and obviously what he's done for Palace. And Potter, obviously Brighton, Chelsea, and whatnot. But if you had the choice at the time, and you were Karen Brady, you had the choice between the both of them, right? Which one would you have picked?
In an ideal world, I would have gone for Potter. I'd say formless. Yeah, I'd say Potter.
Do you think he's more suited to West Ham? Right, basically on that is what you're saying.
I think what some supporters want in terms of football, Potter would be able to provide it.
Interesting.
In theory, what some supporters want.
Some, trust me. What I'm starting to know is West Ham and Spurs fans are kind of the same now.
Oh my God! When I said that 2 weeks ago, you started cussing me out about it.
Mate, you know what it was? Reality started to hit in.
Yeah. Hey, it's a bitch, isn't it?
Oh,
reality is a bitch.
Oh, mate. Literally.
Yeah.
What time is it, lads? What time is it? Please tell people what time. We've got quite a few to go through because obviously there's been 2 game weeks. 2 that we've had to miss out on. 2 game weeks.
So we're going to the main event.
Here we go, the main event. Let's go to VAR. What has VAR done to us this week? Let me make sure I've got the right screens up. He's got his cards out.
Yes.
Here we go.
Good work, Chris.
Okay. Situation. Sanchez throws the ball out. David Brooks pulls Cucure's hair when he's running, as everyone likes to do. Goes to VAR, and he only gets a booking. Mitchie, since you're on the far left, let's start with you. Should David Brooks have been sent off for his actions?
You know what? I was actually hoping to come in last on this one because I'm looking at it and I'm thinking I don't know. Like it is such a random thing to do during a game. Like where does this fall in the law? Is it like pulling someone's shirt? Is it like pulling someone's arm? Is it like pushing them in the face? Well, where does it fall in the law of the game? That's my only issue here. I would say due to the fact that it's not likely to massively injure him, and it's not. I wouldn't really call it like that. You see certain things that could really injure a player, or people throwing punches and stuff like that are red cards. I wouldn't put it on that level, so I'd probably say yellow's about right. But it's such a weird thing to do mid game.
Go on, Stocky.
What I would say, mitigating circumstance, before this, Cucurella absolutely cleaned Brooks out.
He did, yep.
Properly checked him. So I don't really care about the punishment. I just think he deserved it. I really don't like Cucurella. He's quite an easy footballer.
Okay, yeah, but that's not what VAR Court's about. It doesn't matter if he bloody deserves it or not.
Nah,
should he have been sent off?
I don't know the rules, so I'll go booking as well.
Sink?
For me, that's a red card. If you take it to the extreme of what could have happened in that situation, and say he pulls a lump out of his ear, and Cucurella's got a ball back, that's assault. You might just look at it like it's a laugh. If that was me, no, I'm being serious. If that was me, that's going to start a fight. You know what I mean? Like, I feel that would be assault on some regard, because you know what I mean. You've if he did pull his hair out, I'm saying, then you know what I mean. He's caused like an assault to him. His hair's been would have been pulled out from his scalp. But I mean, in this situation here, I think it's subjective to the referee as well. I mean, pulling your hair can be seen as a violent action. You know, if someone squares up to each other, and you know you pull his hair in that situation there in anger, it can be seen as violence. So I don't know. For me, I think it is a red card just because of the damage that could be caused.
To be fair, sometimes pulling hair, it happens in a loving environment.
Oh yeah, of course, 100%. It's all about context, 100%. And in this position here,
not to Stocky, it doesn't.
yeah, no, Stocky.
I do the pulling, mate. I have to do the pulling.
But no, for me, I think you have to read it, because as well you want to set an example, because then other people just take a yellow and pull someone's hair or whatnot in another situation. I don't think it's becoming of the game to pull someone's hair.
I'm with you, Sink. I feel like he should have been sent off. I feel like the refs have missed one here. I don't understand why he didn't get a red card. I get what Stocky's saying about the bit before, but that's not the bit that's shown to the referee. It's the bit where he pulls his hair, and you're like, I remember the whole thing kicked off with Romero when he pulled Cucurella's hair. Everyone said he should have been sent off. Don't get it. Don't get what decision they came to. But go on, Chris.
Romero won, but he didn't get a free kick at all, though, when Romero pulled his hair.
No, we scored from it.
The ball wasn't in play.
Yeah, the ball wasn't in play, and we scored. And we shit house Stamford Bridge and got a 2-2 draw.
Gotta be red cards to stop it.
Yeah, the ball wasn't in play.
Is it unsportsmanlike conduct? Did you get that in football? Ungentlemanly conduct, as we used to call it.
No, is the answer.
Okay.
There is so much, honestly, I want to cover on this. Where to start? First of all, I think it was controversial because the VAR recommended a review, right? And the referee turned it down, which is the first time that's happened for a long time. Not the first time ever, but the first time for a long time. Before I get into the incident, one thing that Stocky said, just for anyone who really gives a crap, which is probably nobody, but part of what I used to love in my old job about coaching refs is for them to understand what a good referee does. And Stocky had talked about something that happened previously. And going back to, I can remember once watching a game when a referee abandoned a match because he sent off loads of players, and this was at a low level. And I went in to see him afterwards, and I wanted to support him because he's a ref. And I remember him saying to me, it all came from nowhere. I'll give you 30 seconds of the story. This was a local level game. I turned up at 5 minutes before half time with a friend to watch it. And I could just feel that there was something wrong in the game. I don't know what it was, just the atmosphere, whatever. It all kicked off second half. Referee sent loads of players off, abandoned the game because so many got sent off. And I spoke to him afterwards, and he said, it just came from nowhere. And I thought, how poor a referee are you that you... I didn't say it to him. How poor a referee are you that
If
you...
he's watching it now, he knows.
I turned up not knowing what had happened, and I could feel that the game wasn't right. And it turned out in that game that two players had a punch up, and they'd lost one of them, and they'd just sent the one player off from the one team and not the other because they didn't know who it was. And there are ways around that, but there was injustice in the game, and the players... I always used to say, if the ref doesn't give out justice, the players will do it for you. Anyway, point being that as a referee, you have to understand what's going on in the greater context of the game. So where something happens like that and two players have had a coming together, you need to manage that situation and not let it escalate. You can't just go, that's happened, I'll forget about it now and let the game carry on, because those players carry on having a go at each other. So these are the kind of things that separate the very best referees from the ones who don't progress. Anyway, that's the first thing. What are the actual offences here? There's one of two, I guess, that you could potentially send off for. One is violent conduct. The other one you can't really send off for, but some people might consider is serious foul play. But serious foul play involves some element of going for the ball. That's your two-footed over the ball challenge. Violent conduct usually has nothing to do with the ball. So this is nothing to do with the ball. So is it violent conduct? First, next thing to come on to, if he definitely pulled his hair, don't know what happened to my voice there, it's very clear in law that is a red card. There's no two ways around it. And certainly from the Romero offence a couple of years ago, it's been clarified to all referees. You pull someone's hair, you get sent off. The problem is there's actually no video, and I've seen the video. There's nothing clear enough to say he's definitely pulled his hair. So that kind of is why he's not been sent off for that. If there was a clear replay of that happening, he would have definitely got sent off. So you then get into the remit of, should he be sent off for violent conduct? I've always thought that the law should change a little bit, where you make certainly for ones where they kick players and you can't get to the ball, and you just deliberately kick a player. I always think that should just be automatic red card for me. I've seen lots of them over the years where people, he's just tripped him. But if you're just doing it deliberately and taking a swipe at a player, I think it should be a red card, but it's not. The law doesn't necessarily say that. So it comes down to just your opinion ultimately of, has what he has done there, is it violent or is it kind of unsportsmanlike? He's gone to block him. I'll be honest, I think you can justify any decision, and I'm not going to sit here and say absolutely whatever you think. I'm going to come to my decision eventually in a second. But I'm not going to disagree with anybody. If you think it's a red card, if you think it's a yellow card, it just comes down to, do you think it's violent or not? For me personally, I've kind of overanalyzed it, and the more I watch it, the more I'm like not so sure. So I've got to go back to my first instinct when I first saw it, and I didn't think personally that there was anything there that I would say is 100% definitely violent. So using the new feature here, I'm going to go. Going to go yellow card for me.
Question: do you think Cucurella's reputation came with this decision?
No, I don't think you referee like that. I don't think you referee like that. Really.
I'll go away, Chris. Come on, they do.
Mitch is living proof that's a thing.
I don't think that's the way referees do work in practice, from my experience. So you prepare for a game and understand how teams play. More goes into refereeing than you think. You shouldn't turn up with no awareness of the teams, no awareness of the players, no awareness of how they play. Some people argue that you should, because you're not tainted at all by anything. I think that's really poor to prepare like that as a referee, because you don't know how the styles of play, you don't know where to position yourself. Are they a long ball team? Do they pass it out from the back? All these things make a difference. And when I used to have sort of briefings with assistants and that before a game, we talk about players. I don't think it means you prejudge them. It means you're prepared for what might happen. Is a player more likely to go in two-footed over the ball than another? So you position yourself accordingly. If the ball runs away from them, you think, well, that player may go in 2-footed now, as opposed to one that never, Brennan Johnson, who never goes in for any tackles ever. You probably know he's not going to do that. That's all about being prepared. But I think when it happens, you judge it on its merits. I don't think any referee, consciously at least, thinks it's this player or it's that player. I think they just judge it on its merits. And yeah, that's where I am on it. One of those where I'll go with everybody's decision. If you think it's red or yellow, I'm not going to tell you you're wrong. You got to come to some decision as a ref, so I'm going yellow card.
Yeah, just leak out and I will tell you something different. Let's go to the next decision that was made. So this was going to be for violent conduct. I believe they looked at it and they decided it wasn't. Now, the reason why I brought this up again was because we looked at João Pedro 2 weeks ago, where he tried to elbow the guy, and we were quite split on that. I'm going to start with you, Sink, and then go across. Should he have been walking for this, or do you think it was a complete accident?
No, it wasn't an accident. He knew what he was doing, but I wouldn't say it was a red card. I would say that this was a yellow card offence. But if he was my teammate or I was managing his team, and the ref gave a red, I couldn't argue against it because of the damage that he can cause in doing what he's doing. But at the same time, I can see what he was trying to do, and I would say it's quite malicious. And this is like an equivalence to like a studs up challenge for me, really, because the G force that you can impact on someone running into them like this, knowingly doing it,
Yeah,
can be quite dangerous.
Stocky,
Red.
go on. Sorry, quick question. Are you basing this off of his reputation because of what he did in the last game?
No.
I am.
No. Oh, well, fair enough. To be honest, he's going to get himself a reputation as lucky, because I thought he should have walked for this. The ball was long gone, and he still took a few strides before jumping in and clean. That keeper could have easily been knocked out.
Mm.
And like, what goes on from there? He could land. He could get knocked out. He could land on his head. He's got no regard for the keeper's safety. He's not tried pulling out, even though the ball's gone. He's just carried on and flattened him. I think that's a clear red, and I'm not quite sure how he got away with it myself.
Richie?
Well, first, I think João Pedro must have some kind of dirt on the PGMOL, because he has got away with 2 over the last few weeks that I just cannot understand. Like, this is another one of them. I said it a few weeks back, that if he does this to my goalkeeper in the next 5-10 minutes, he is getting sent as far in the air as I can possibly send him. It's despicable. You can't be going around doing that to players on the pitch. That's a clear red card for me. There's no need for it. Absolutely no need for what he has done in this situation. And it could have hurt the keeper in so many different ways, like whiplash, landing on his head, cracked a rib. It could have done anything to him, the pace he's moving and the velocity he jumps into. It's just ridiculous.
I'm kind of with Sink on this one. I think if it goes either way, you don't really complain. I thought it was late, and I thought at the time, but in the nature of the game, I just didn't. I personally thought it could have just been a yellow, and that's it. But if you like you guys have said, if he had got sent off for it, I would have been like, fair play. Chris?
Yeah, sorry, I was just loading up a replay of it just to double check my own opinion because of how strong some of the opinions were. Because for me, I thought it was fairly straightforward, a yellow card offence. He is late, but he jumps before the ball's played, right? So it's not the greatest challenge in the world, but this is where you could send him off for serious foul play because the ball is sort of involved. So. But the question is, it's not really a violent act. I mean, violent conduct really is very much off the ball. It's a punch or an elbow or something like that. This is sort of ish going for the ball. So it'd be serious foul play, but it doesn't really matter. It comes down to the same question, which is, does he endanger the safety of an opponent? By which we mean not just jumping into him and giving him a sore shoulder. Like, could he really properly have, it's the 2-footed challenge. Could he have broken his leg? Could he have done something like that? I don't think it's a good challenge, but I don't see that when I watch it. He's just jumped into him quite forcefully, quite late. But
just the point what you just made just there. He could quite easily break his collarbone.
Yeah.
If he's running
He could have.
with enough impact, because your collarbones, you can break your collarbones just by breaking your fall, just by landing on the floor.
If that's a Confenwa, he's broken.
Very easy. No, I'm being serious.
Yeah, but that's true with any contact with Akinfenwa.
Just within my line of work, I've come across breaks with your collarbones very easy. So like he could break his collarbone.
Yeah, just watching it again. I'm just looking at João Pedro's like his eyes, where he's looking, and that. I don't think there's any intent there to injure the opponent at all. I think he has genuinely made a poorly timed jump, and the contact's all the midriff, right? Like if he'd jumped in and led with his arm into his head or something, I'd have a different view. But he's also turned, which softens it a little bit, so he's kind of ended up leading with the side of his body into the keeper's kind of chest. I don't think it's that bad, personally. So hold on, with the new technology that we've got on this channel, no expense encountered. I'm going yellow card, but it's the same as the last one, really. I'm a little bit of a stronger view than the previous one, which I can see both sides. I'm more sort of 80-20 yellow card here. I think most referees would go yellow card, but if you're the keeper, you want him sent off because it's poor. It's poor. It's worse than your average yellow card, but I don't think it reaches the threshold for a red, personally.
All right, next one, same game. Goal goes in. Dunk is offside, doesn't touch the ball, but he's classed as interfering with play. Even though when the goal goes in, he's nowhere near it. He's just in front of the keeper's eye vision when the ball is struck, I believe. And as you can see by the line there, that's where the line is struck. I think it's his right foot. That's the problem. Everything else is onside. But obviously, you can see where the keeper's line of vision is. Should this goal count?
I think, Marlon, correct me if I'm wrong, but the goal did count, right?
No, it didn't. I don't think it did.
I think it did.
It did. It did, yeah, it did. Sorry, it did. Sorry, yeah, this one counted. But obviously, Ipswich complained it's in the line of vision and he's offside as well.
Wait. Which player's dunk?
So the one in the top, in front of the keeper.
In front of the keeper, and he's offside. So he's
offside, yeah.
His heel's offside, apparently.
We can't see that his heel is from this image, but there's another image where you can see.
I think we need to reframe the conversation because the decision by the VAR was that he wasn't offside. So I can't say, and we have to kind of trust that, right? Whether he's offside or not, that the technology was that he wasn't offside, and therefore the goal was allowed. And if the technology has said he's not offside, I don't know what there is.
You can't. Yeah, we can't argue against the technology. Technology overrules all.
Well, you can.
I'm sorry. Is this the best they could do with this situation? This was the best line they could get. You can clearly see where his right foot is.
Yeah, but you can't see the back of his right foot. This is the same as the Joe Linton goal the Gordon goal against Arsenal a couple of years ago. If there's nothing conclusive to rule it out, then you can't rule it out. You can't see where the back of his foot is. Like for me, he looks onside from this image that we're looking, but you can't see his heel. But you can't say, "Well, I'm going to guess that his heel was offside," because you can't see it. Was it given on the field as well? Was it given on the field as well?
Yeah, it was given.
It's got to be given. You can't overturn it unless there's something to tell you conclusively, without a shadow of a doubt, he's offside. You can't give him offside. There's no way.
Yeah, we can't.
Sluggy?
Yeah, I could. Just looking at that picture, he's onside, and it's a little bit tough shit for Ipswich. if he was clearly offside, then there's a problem because he's in the keeper's eye line, but he's there. So
Yeah, it's unfortunate.
You've got the line of. I think you've already said what you think, innit, Chris? So I won't even bother come to you this time.
Well, the only thing I would say is I think was it Mitch who just said about the Joe Linton goal against Arsenal? I think that's a really good reference where was it who put it in, Anthony Gordon or whoever it was?
Gordon, yeah.
You couldn't tell the moment the ball was played. It was impossible. So I totally would back up what was just said, which is if you can't know for certain either when the ball's played, as you couldn't with Joe Linton, or the exact positioning of the players, then you can't rule it out, can you? Also, the stills can be misleading because of the way that lines work, right? And they all converge to a point in the distance. So what looks like is in line isn't always, which gets fans very upset a lot of the time. But yeah, I don't know. I just got to back the technology really, and just hope it's accurate.
It's got to be clear and obvious, hasn't it?
Actually, no for an offside, but let's not get into that.
Oh no! Oh no! Another great area.
Well,
see, it's easier not to get promoted. It gets too messy.
I know. I think I want to say the championship.
Yeah, clear and obvious is for subjective decisions, and the argument is, and I think there is a flaw in this, that offside is not subjective. I mean, there can be certain offsides that are subjective when they're standing in front of the keeper, but these which is he is actually here, but the position of offside is not subjective. I think then you get into things like frame rates with the cameras and all that kind of stuff, and it gets very complex. So, but that's the position of the PGMO, is that the position of offside is factual, so it doesn't need to be clear and obvious, and they can't prove that is offside here.
Wow.
All right, let's move on to the Arsenal game. Oh, now we're finally on Saturday. Handball or not to be handball?
Fucking hell.
Go on, Richie.
Sorry, this has been killing me for the last couple of days, because every time I go onto Twitter, there's a different Arsenal fan trying to explain how it doesn't hit his hand and it hits its stomach and all of this other stuff. And it is the most bonkers thing that I am actually starting to worry about the mental stability of some of these people that do these things, because they do it with such vim that it's either they're very good actors and they're all in a WhatsApp group to wind us all up combined, or they're just stupid. Like, it's the clearest handball you're going to see. So what are you arguing against? I don't really agree with the law itself, that if it...
So that's the whole question with this. Is the law the problem more than the actual... Yeah.
As the law stands, it's handball, no goal. Simple. There's not even an argument. It's just crazy the amount they're going on about it.
Stocky?
Yeah, I'll use 30 seconds to dig out Arsenal supporters and all. Yeah, I think it's a lot of people not knowing the rules, because I think the shot would probably go wide if he doesn't hit his hand. And another one of Chris's favourites, player reactions. I've never seen anyone score in the 88th minute, no matter where it's come, and walked off and put his hand over his mouth and spoke to his team. He knew he handballed it in. And
who was it? They said it was Mourinho's reaction, because everyone else didn't really see it, but Mourinho saw it, and it was his reaction that kind of summed it all up, because he knew straight away. And the Aston Villa players were adamant.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's a clear handball, and it's hilarious how they just try and blame this for another bottle job.
It's a good spike in volleyball, though, to be fair. I'll give him that.
Yeah.
Sink?
Yeah, it's just very unlucky for Havertz. You know, it's hit his midriff and then ricocheted off his arm and into the net. I mean, it's just one of those things, isn't it? You want it to be counted, but you just can't. And
would you change the law?
As a neutral fan, you're just like, tough luck is what it is.
Yeah, would you change the law behind it, though, the whole accidental handball situation, or would you keep it as it is?
No, leave it as it is. It's just unfortunate, really.
Nice.
Couldn't have happened to a better club, to be honest.
Yeah.
I mean,
Here, Marlon. Here.
we'll say that this week, and the next week or next season, it could happen to someone else, and then we're saying exactly the same thing.
As frustrating as the law can be, it takes away so many grey areas when they turn around and say if it hits your hand and goes in, it's handball. There's no sort of opinion behind it.
There's no arguing it, innit?
Mm.
And that's the thing. That's the thing is like that's what fans like is when something's like clear as day. It's what it is. It's just unlucky, and we're happy with it.
Chrissy?
Fans.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of things that tell you it's handball. First of all, if that hit his chest, it's not going to bounce upwards, is it? But it hits his arm and it goes up. So, I mean, it is just handball. The reaction of Havertz, not so much when he scores, but when it's disallowed, like he doesn't argue at all. Like if that's the winner and you've just been disallowed for handball and you haven't handballed it, you are going mental, and he just accepts it. But you can't use that to make your decision, obviously. I agree with the law, broadly speaking. I mean, I think it's a lot. It would be a huge injustice for this kind of goal to stand when it's going wide and it smacks someone's arm and gone in my opinion. And to be honest, this was exactly the sort of scenario in which it was brought in. The only thing I don't like about that law for the goal scorer scoring it is that it creates a situation that I can only ever remember happening once, but will happen again, where someone's handballed it accidentally like that, and they know if they score, it will be disallowed. So you pass it to a teammate and he scores, but that's okay. I think that's a bit weird. It happened once. I remember, this is going to test people's memory. I only remember it because of the incident. About 3-4 years ago, United were playing at home in the Cup. I think it was to Sheffield United. And the ball came over the top and the Sheffield United player jumped up, controlled it with the end of his toe. It jumped up and hit his arm, fell to his feet. Now, if he'd have scored that, it would have been disallowed. But he passed it to his teammate who had an open goal, and he put it in, and that's okay. That strikes me as a bit weird, but I don't know the way around that really. But the law's really clear as it stands.
That's absolute genius by whoever's done that to think that quickly mid-game. To be fair,
What are they doing at Sheffield United?
I'm pretty sure that was the game, but yeah, it was a few seasons ago. So.
They're probably also on the panel at Mensa, to be honest.
For real.
Seriously, quick thinking.
I doubt Ollie McBurney is on Mensa.
There was, by the way, have we got another one? Yeah, we've got one more. I think there's one that we thought about discussing we might want to come to, which was the ball out of play in the North London derby. But anyway.
Oh, forget that.
I want to talk about any injustice to Spurs.
No, it's not injustice to Spurs. It happens.
Yeah, well, the only reason why I brought it up is I think there was a goal disallowed at the weekend. I can't remember which goal because the ball went out of play. But the difference being, and I've seen again Spurs fans lose their mind as they do regularly. Like, how is that fair? And VAR inconsistency? It's not inconsistent. If the ball is possibly out of play in the build-up to a goal, it will always be checked. But if it goes out for a different restart, then it won't be checked. And what happens from that restart, it doesn't matter. So it was a goal kick to Tottenham, right? But the ref's given a corner. At that stage, that's it. You can't go back. It doesn't matter what happens from the corner then. Maybe just defend the corner better. But anyway.
West Ham had one against Villa as well. And I think the goal you're thinking about this weekend would have been a third for Bournemouth against us.
Oh, yeah, that was it. Yeah, absolutely right. Yeah, and the ball had got. Ironically, it was Newcastle trying to keep the ball in, wasn't it? And it led to the goal.
Was it Tonali?
Tonali. It was Tonali. I didn't need to bring that up actually, but because we had quite a few for the two games, I thought I'd bring this one up.
That was a good VAR interjection.
Yeah. So this is more of a question, and I wanted to ask the boys' opinion on this one. Is this enough of a foul to rule it out? Mitchie?
Nah.
Should have been given, right?
Should have been given. I can't see how, when you look at some things and they go with the referee's call, I can't see how this wasn't one of them. Because from my remembering, it was given as a goal and then it got ruled out by VAR based on this.
On the foul, yeah.
Yeah, I can't see how they can do that. It is so soft.
Stoggy?
I'd say this was the hardest one. of the weekend for me to decide, because I think it's proper soft. But also I see him given regularly around the pitch.
So
When you
would
go
you?
to the
Yeah.
if there's a
Would you
higher
say?
or lower
Yeah.
bar.
So would you say that's a foul no matter what? Then, no matter if it's look at the end of the day, right? Soft or not soft, foul's a foul, right?
Yeah. If I was refereeing, I probably would have just said, "No, I'll ignore what you've tried showing me again and leave it." But from what I see most weeks, that gets given as a foul, so it's probably a pen.
It wasn't even a pen. It just disallowed the goal. Didn't it?
Disallowed the goal. Yeah,
Disallowed it. Yeah, well, given as a foul. Sorry,
yeah,
my
I
mistake.
can't remember who it fell to, but it fell to some the guy who scored the goal.
Yeah,
and he ends up putting it in the
yeah,
net.
yeah. If I was refereeing, I would have gone, "No, that's fine." But from what I see regularly, yeah, it's a foul, unfortunately. But they still lost, so there's no need to despair.
See,
No, it's a foul. It's a foul. It's the Lots kicked the ball away, and then Brighton players kicked the Lots foot. So it's a foul. Doesn't matter about the weight of contact. It's a foul. Whether you think he's not kicked him hard enough, it's a foul.
has he kicked him hard enough? If I said to you, has he kicked him? If he was holding a baby and a pint of beer, has he kicked him hard enough to fall over? There's way.
I think that's irrelevant. I think it's irrelevant because it's subjective, isn't it?
Wait. Can we just go back to the baby and a pint of beer for a second? Why are them two things put together? I'm so confused right now.
Because
I think they need to put that in the laws, don't they?
the reason why I asked that question is right because usually people go, if he's holding a baby or he's holding a pint of beer, would he drop it if he was kicked like that? Right? So my thing is, there is most parents out there, right? Doesn't matter male or female, who, if you're holding a baby and holding a pint, right? Some will be there because the baby's crying. If they were tripped over, would they trip? If they were kicked like this, would they fall over? Probably not.
Is it one or the other, Marlon, or are they holding a baby?
No. They're holding a pint. A newborn baby and a pint.
I'm having childhood flashbacks.
Hockey was dropped on his head when he was young.
But he
Luckily, I recovered
didn't
against
drip
Spurs.
of the beer, though. That was the thing.
Yeah, mate. What I did, I caught the bottle as I was going down and then drank it.
I don't even think it's the amount of contact on this for me. From the replays that I've seen, it looks like as Dalot tries to do whatever he's trying to do here.
He's just tried to clear the ball
similar time.
Yeah.
And it's not the fact that it's not a foul. I just don't feel that they have to look so deeply into it to see it.
Yeah.
That it's got to be referee's call. If the ref gives it on the pitch and they're looking at it, they don't. Then I wouldn't expect them to turn it the other way.
But that's the problem. The ref has missed the contact.
Referee's call.
But that's the problem. Is the ref has missed the contact that the Brighton player made on Dalot. That's the problem. The contact was clear and obvious. It was clear and obvious that he didn't touch the ball, and Dalot did touch the ball. So it's a free kick.
Chris, I'm not convinced. I personally didn't think it was a foul. I think he just dived because he lost the battle and got kicked afterwards.
I kind of think everybody's got a point that they've made, so that's valid. First of all, with Sync, demonstrates the difficulty of writing the laws of the game. Like, how much of a foul, how much contact does there need to be for it to be a foul? Because if it's nothing, if it's like any contact, that's the only way to get consistency is any contact, right? And then anyone can go down with the slightest contact.
That's the world that I live in. Is that if there's any contact, it's a foul. That's it.
But then the example, it's easier to show here with a shirt pull because you can see my upper body. Like, are we saying that should be a penalty for that, or does it have to be like that? And this is the difficulty, right? Everyone's got a different opinion. But apologies if you can hear my dog barking. Everyone's got a different opinion, and there is definitely somewhere in the middle where people think that's enough of contact. And the PGMO, Howard Webb this year was clear talking about contact with consequence, but that then creates a grey area and it creates inconsistency. So I got sympathy with what Sink said. And then moving on a little bit. So in that sense, I think it's a foul. But then I also come to what Mitch said. And this is my thing I hate the most about VAR. We've created this really weird scenario where we're looking at an event, something like this, and go, "Oh yeah, it's a foul," but it's not enough of a foul to disallow. I'm like, what are we doing? What are we doing?
You've killed yourself with your opening sentence. Is like it's a foul, but it's not enough of a foul. You've said
these are what the rules say currently, right?
And I know, I understand what you're saying, but when you're saying, it's a foul, that's it. It's a foul.
This is where, when you were saying clear and obvious before, this is where clear and obvious does come in. It has to be a clear and obvious 100%. Error. But I disagree slightly. I understand, again, the point that Stocky made, but I'm going to disagree with him a little bit. Because for you to be a referee now who's not given that, and you get called over to the screen, if you're going to say, I'm going to stick with my decision, what you're actually saying when you watch it is, yeah, I can see it's a foul. I can see that I've missed it. I can see that I've made a mistake. But I'm not going to correct it because I didn't make enough of a mistake. And I'm like, what is going on? What? But that is the world we live in. And that's where I think VAR is mental with this clear and obvious thing, because it's just stupid. We've got different degrees of foul now. Like it should just be, is it a foul? Is it a foul? Then it should be disallowed, in my opinion. But I've got a lot of sympathy for what Mitch said about, and there was a big thing this season about contact with consequence, and we're going to do this referee's call more and more. So I'm a little surprised it was disallowed, but you can see why. Like I'm going to do the referee thing that I do with most decisions and sit on the fence a little bit and just say everybody is right and not really disagree with anybody. But I can see which way, either way that. But once you're called over to the screen and you've got a colleague of yours going, I'm telling you, you've got this wrong, you're probably going to disallow it at that point, right?
Yeah.
So, a quick question before we go. On the Chris situation where he's talking about Spurs in the corner last week against West Ham, against Arsenal, sorry, Stocky, I've just got you lot on the brain.
It's hard to keep track of how many teams beat us.
Yeah, I know. The problem is, what was we singing yesterday? You're not that special. We get beat every week. It's just, that's where we're at now. All right? Yeah, but no, in all seriousness, do you think there should be a rule change in the sense of if a corner's like identically given in the wrong, it shouldn't have been a corner and then leads to a goal? Do you feel like VAR should go back that far, or do you feel like actually we just got to go with the ref and the linesman's mistake and keep it as it is?
Just got to hold them ones, unfortunately. It'll prolong the game too much. People will be looking at every single throw-in, every corner, every
goal. It's going to be soon, don't worry.
You've just got to hold them. There's not really much you can do about stuff like that in the game. It would prolong the game way too long for me.
Stocky?
Yeah, to be honest, a couple of people went at me, you should be well annoyed about what happened with it. I was like, it's just one of them things. Because like you say, I think if you go, it's a really bad one, we should do it for that. It'll be like the whole thing. How far will it go? It will only keep regressing. I'd be annoyed for. I wasn't that annoyed about West Ham, but if I was a Tottenham supporter in a derby game and that was given against me, I'd be fuming. But
I was more unfortunately defending the corner, mate. Don't worry about that.
Well, yeah, exactly. But
with that, the worst thing is we've dealt with every corner. Yeah, every corner we've dealt with so well, but the one that shouldn't have been given against us, we fucking go and fuck it up.
When it rains, it pours, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, things, Chris said it earlier, and Stocky said it to me after the Villa game. Just defend the corner better.
Yeah.
Think you're in the same boat. Just should leave them decisions to the ref. Should be reviewed back.
Sorry, guys, our connection's a bit all over the place.
All right, Chris, you go.
Yeah, I mean, I think you got to draw the line somewhere.
What was the question? I think it's back on now. What was the question?
Let Chris go, and then we'll ask you again.
Sure.
Yeah, I think you got to draw the line somewhere, right? And the nature of football these days, certainly football. To be fair to Ange, I don't say much fair to Ange, but he didn't really moan about it. Just said you got to get on with it, and I think that's true. It's football fans who like to moan about anybody.
I've got a question for you after. So that reminds me.
Right.
See,
The only way you could do it, just very quickly, the only way you could do it, you couldn't say that you could review the previous ball out of the previous restart, because what if there wasn't a restart for the last 5 minutes? So you couldn't do that. You could say, I guess, review the last X number of seconds, but it doesn't matter, because whatever you introduce, if you said we'll review one restart, then it's only a matter of time before manager comes out and goes, yeah, but the throw in before that wasn't a throw. So that would happen. And if you do a time thing and say the last 30 seconds, it's only a matter of time before it happens at 31 seconds, and then someone's up in arms about that. So there's just no way of pleasing everybody. You've got to have a cut-off somewhere. I think the cut-off right now is sensible for me.
Yeah. I guarantee if you did a time thing, the player who has seen that the ball is meant to be a goal kick rather than a corner will potentially just go down for a minute to pass that time.
Take that time.
Sam Allardyce rules, yeah.
I think players do that already.
Oh man!
They're like, if the longer we can stop the game from restarting, the more chances there's going to be someone of having a look at it. I get a feeling they do that already.
All right, quick. This was another quick question before we go, because it just reminded me when Chris said about Ange. Did everybody see his interview with BBC yesterday? On Match of the Day?
I didn't.
Is this the one where he was asked if it's a familiar story?
Yeah, and he went, "Well, that's a great way to start the interview." Now, for me, is Ange now becoming a bit arrogant in the way he's now dealing with the media? Because obviously, you guys, me and Chris are Spurs fans, but you lot obviously are not Spurs fans. How is Ange coming across at the moment? Because for me, it was a fair question. It was a familiar story. We haven't won for how many games? And he's not saying, and then he's being rude because he's asked him, "Oh, you've lost again today. What's happening?" Basically.
It's either arrogance or it's a man that's stressed and under pressure.
Yeah, I think. Do you know what? I think it actually goes back to my question to Chris last week when we was talking about having a league table for referees in terms of how well they do. Like, this is the same thing for a manager. In this situation here, you're asking him them difficult questions right after you're gonna get a sour response. Like this, you're criticizing his team, his philosophy, his ideas, like everything about him.
I get that, but
that's what I'm saying. Like, everything about him is being questioned in this moment in time, openly in front of everyone. So.
Yeah, but it was all happy
going
to be
spicy.
Yeah, but he was all happily and joking when he was going on his 10 game.
Yeah, of course. When you're winning, yeah, everything's great. But even when he was winning, he was humble when he was winning. He wasn't arrogant when he was winning.
Be humble now when you're losing.
Yeah,
of course. It should be.
But when you're winning, you're sleeping well.
All I'm saying is like it's the same difference when Chris was saying, how would you feel how would referees feel is if they was openly criticized. So, but managers are openly criticized all day, every day in the newspapers, after the game, before the game, during the game. It's what I mean. They just got to deal with it. But so sometimes when they ask them questions, they're gonna react how they're gonna react because they can see the writing on the wall. And I'll be honest, if by the end of February and the results carry on how they are, I'll be surprised if Ange is still in position.
And you've got to put with this till the end of February. Jesus.
Yeah, because that's where
only 10 days left.
Competitions are in it. That's when by the 9th of February that you've had all your cup competitions. If you're out of them, then he's gone.
The only thing I'd say, Marlon, on that discussion is, for me personally, you get different types of manager, right? And how they behave in interviews. And I've had much more pride and affinity with the managers we've had who have showed some class. And the one, for example, the one that springs to mind was, albeit I think it's over 20 years ago now, when we didn't get that goal at Old Trafford in the last minute from Pedro Mendes.
Yeah.
And Martin Jol comes out. Like, can you imagine if that was the other way around, what Alex Ferguson would have said?
Yeah.
That Martin Jol comes out and just says, you can't blame the officials. Like, they couldn't see it. Yeah, it's a goal. We haven't got it. But what do you want me to do? Like, it's not their fault. They did their best. Let's just move on. I've always thought people like him I don't
Cost him a
remember
European, and it cost him a
moaning
European
too
place
much.
that year as well. It cost him a European place
Yeah,
as
I
well,
mean,
and he was good. He
I
was
don't
good
think.
about it. But Martin Martin
Yeah,
man.
I always resist that conclusion that one single decision costs you over the whole season. But I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
But I prefer managers like that, and I take some. And I think at Tottenham over the years, as fans, we have always thought of ourselves as a club that behaves generally in a more classy way and doesn't get involved in these things. But we've had a few managers now. Like I like Conte and Mourinho, but the way that their behaviour at times was, especially Mourinho's on the touchline with certain people, I thought was pretty despicable. And I don't like this. I don't like the way Arteta behaves. I think it's really poor. I prefer the managers that come out and go.
Arteta's above his station, and it's like, mate, win something first.
But I do get. I mean, it's a valid point. Like the pressure that Ange is under right now is the most pressure he's ever been under.
Yeah,
professionally, at least.
But the question wasn't like some of the questions he's been asked recently are. It's always been the same one. The way you play, the way this and the other. The man has pretty much come to get your opinion. He's literally said to you again, which everyone else said. It's similar.
Yeah,
to
but you say that, Marlon. But he's forced. No, but Marlon, listen, he's forced.
No, yeah, but he's forced. But they know what's going to happen.
So, for example,
then don't be a Premier League manager. Then it's not irrelevant because you know you're going to have to go out there no matter
that's
what.
why he's doing an interview.
No, but the question that was asked was not a terrible question.
It doesn't matter. It does, but that's your opinion.
No, but it's not because
to him it was a horrible question.
It's not a horrible question. The team is
playing. Not a horrible question.
It's not a horrible question to anybody.
To Ange, it's a horrible question.
Ferguson wouldn't even have answered it like that because we
don't know because Ferguson was never in this position.
Okay, it doesn't matter. Okay, any manager, right? Even Russell Martin, who went on a couldn't win a game.
Yeah, but Russell Martin might count himself lucky. Yeah. No, but Russell might even count himself lucky
No. Yeah, but the question was not
all different levels, Marlon. All different levels.
It does not matter. It does not matter because to sit there and say that's a terrible question after your team have just lost is irrelevant.
No, I'm not saying it's not relevant. I didn't say it's not relevant.
What does he want him to go? Oh, your team were great in that second half, but you lost.
You're misconstruing what I'm saying. I'm saying that Ange thought it was a horrible question.
What to start with, even though his team's just lost?
Yeah.
How would you start?
Maybe you might want to warm him up first. Give him a nice little better way one, and he might.
His team has just lost. They haven't won a game since December, which was against Southampton.
I'm not disputing any of that.
This is the guy that drew me on Tamworth.
The one thing I'd say about Ange, again, Ange cares, right? I can't knock him for that. He's obviously feeling this, so he's going to react quite emotionally. But football interviews, I hate generally because I think they're the most moronic things. Like someone scores a hat trick and you see them interviewed going, "You scored 3, you must be pleased." I'm like, well, what kind of a question is that? Like, so the football interviews I hate. However, what I would say with Ange, he's always struck me from the very start that he's not had any media training. I don't think he deals with the media very well. Unless it's completely on his terms, like in press conferences when it's all nice and they're asking questions he likes, but he doesn't know how to deal with a difficult question.
Was that really a difficult question, though?
The question itself wasn't, but there were ways you can word things, right? He didn't have to say familiar story. That's what's kicked it. It's not the question, is it? It's the fact that he's led it with familiar story, i.e., you're shit again, Ange, aren't you? And you post it there, you're probably going to get a reaction.
But it's a familiar story. What difference is today's game to Newcastle to the last lot of games that we've had? Arsenal. So what does he say? Okay, you lost. Tell us how you lost.
Just ask him the first question in the actual press conference that happened afterwards was, Ange, what did you make of the game today? It's the same question actually, but just not asked in a way that
because he's ready. Because
don't get me wrong,
he's already gone off on BBC.
All right, so Marlon, let me ask you a question, right? If you had a room of 10 interviewers, right, and you then asked them, what would you do different to get the actual answer what he's asking? Do you think they will come with a different strategy as to like what they would have done, or do you think they would say, no, I would have just asked the same question, all 10 interviewees?
But that interview was probably looking for that reaction.
Exactly.
That's gone viral now. So that's just made that interview. He's probably gone in there deliberately to do that. And I'm just giving him exactly what he wanted.
That's what I mean by his lack of media training, because it's almost like a thing now. You can get a reaction out of Ange, right? And that will get your clip to go viral. I don't know who that interviewer was, but they probably never had a more played clip. So yeah, exactly that. I think it's become a thing. I think Ange, it's one of many things that Ange doesn't do well, really.
And bear in
Maybe
mind,
if he just won more football matches, it wouldn't be a problem.
bear in mind, this guy, whoever it is, has probably stood and watched 5, 6, 7 other guys interview Ange quickly, get in there 30 seconds, and thought, "What can I
He would
do
have done
to
Sky
get the
Sports.
best reaction out
Yeah,
of
he
this
would have done
coach?"
Sky Sports first.
Yeah, he would have done all big media first,
Mm.
and then this guy's rocked up and thought, "What can I do to get a reaction?" And he's done exactly that. So it might not even just be his question. It's just the fact Ange is getting more and more wound up. He's already stressed. He's probably not sleeping well. And when you're in that situation, you're more likely to snap.
His boss has travelled on the bus with him.
Yeah, you're more likely to snap in that situation. Everybody's been there when you're tired, you've got the ump, and you're a little bit stressed, and someone says a simple thing to you, and you just rip their head off for no reason, and it's like, yeah.
Well, I sort of agree with all of that, but at the same time, that makes it even more important that Ange doesn't react like he should recognise what they're doing and just go, "I'm not going to rise to it," but he doesn't. He reacts. Poor.
Yeah,
it's amazing that.
Or it was a deliberately poorly worded comment that got a poor reaction, or a deliberately cleverly worded comment, depending on your perspective.
What should he have said? Another loss, and that's your third loss in how many games?
Yeah, you see that one there. That's your third loss in however many games.
He would have reacted. Oh, that's a great way to start. It's because you lost.
Maybe, like I said, the question is relevant. The question is relevant.
Maybe he had a list of ways to ask that same question, and everybody before him asked it the ways he wanted to, and so that was next on the list. There could be so many different things that happened here, and Andrew.
Big Ange, your team's dead. Why?
That was 6 on the list.
That was 6.
I tell you what, if we get any more injuries, Ange's going to have to play himself, isn't he? He's going to be playing in the team. He's the only one with any hamstrings that work at Tottenham.
Show him how it's done.
Bloody hell.
He was, mate.
Solanke, we signed partly because he was available all the time, never got injured, and comes to Tottenham and always injured. But what can you do? It's like a comedy at this stage.
Anyway, let's move on. Move on. Anyway, Chris, let everyone know where they can find you on the socials.
Yeah, just as normal, mate, on Twitter, Spurs CC. I haven't been that active on it this weekend, bizarre. Even though we've had more to discuss.
You've been watching too much YouTube, that's why.
Yeah, maybe, mate. Maybe I have. Trying to keep up with all your appearances everywhere. It's like a full-time job, Marlon, to be honest.
You need to get that premium, Chris, so you can get it multi-window.
Yeah, absolutely.
Picture in picture.
Hey, Chris, you just need to. I'll let you know my schedule. It's fine.
Yeah, Marlon will get his PA to email it over to you.
Sod off. Zink.
Yeah, mate.
Think about starting any socials yet? For everyone?
No, man. I'm just here with you guys, just chatting football. Love it.
Stocky.
Yeah, Stocky_10.
He's the guy with Peter Griffin as his on X, by the way, peeps.
Yeah. We're very similar, and we're overweight, and we really hurt our knee badly once. Yeah, and where did Al sleep? Talking about random football subjects, such as this week we've done our favourite boots.
Nice.
Oh, the Predators! I got the Predators when I was like 15. I thought they were going to turn me into Ronaldo, but they didn't.
Oh, they don't turn me into Ronaldo, but it was the later stage where he got fat and was always drunk.
Hold on.
Ronaldo was black. That's why you didn't turn into Ronaldo, by the way.
It should have been Beckham.
Ronaldo was in night tempos, and then the R9s.
Mitchie.
Yeah, James Mitch 14 on Twitter, same as Stocky. Where the Al sleep some midweeks, most Sundays. Definitely check out the boots yesterday. A lot of nostalgia. Roll back the nostalgia of the boots yesterday.
All right. Spurs Kings TV this week. Make sure you tune in tomorrow for Ashmatic's analysis. We've got 2 games to review, unfortunately. Obviously, both losses. And we'll tell you where Ange is going wrong, as we've got 2 people on tomorrow that like to coach as well. So it'll be interesting to see them take away Ash and everything that he's been going on about for the last few weeks. But no, it'll be interesting tomorrow. We'll have a panel for that. Wednesday is rivals. Man United and Spurs are in the mud as per usual. Both talking about relegation, and then I'm doing last word on Spurs on Saturday after Leicester. Sorry.
Have you been on after anything but a loss, Marlon?
So weirdly enough, before the Galatasaray game, before I said because Galatasaray wasn't meant to be on. And he messaged me last minute and went, can you come on? Can you come on? So all the victories beforehand, I have been on. Every single one apart from Manchester City because I was doing We Are Tottenham TV. So I had a good record. Everyone noticed I had this good record. Right? He brings me on every week. We've lost every week since. Apart from Southampton.
So it's actually your fault. Is that what we're saying?
I blame him. He wanted me on more regular, and I think it's because I blew my lid against Galatasaray for the team he picked. And everyone was saying, yeah, I was right about that. And that was it.
I was lucky, man. I didn't see that game. I was at a Paul Gascoigne evening that night and I didn't have any TV, so I missed that one.
No, absolutely fume. So, yeah, I've got a busy week ahead of me. I think I'm on with Irish as well this week. So, we'll see. But, yeah, I'm Ange out, and I don't care anymore. He's done. He's out of it, mate. It was up until the North London derby. I'm emotional when it comes to North London derby. Mitchie and Sink will tell you. I'm emotional. I was thinking with my head straight, and then he put out that performance. Gone, get him gone. I don't care about Anfield. Couldn't give a crap now. He's done.
I've got a ticket for that, so yeah. It's a semi-final. I should be excited about going.
No, man, we need Sam Allardyce to come and save us. Shithouse Anfield.
Can someone clip this?
And we'll just get through it because I don't care anymore.
Hard times, man. It's hard times.
Benitez, just bring in anyone.
Anybody
hard.
and just change something. This is ridiculous.
You know the thing is that if they knock Liverpool out the Carabao Cup, he saves himself an extra couple of weeks.
He doesn't.
I don't think he gets there. If he loses to the 2 games this week, I don't think he gets there.
He can't lose to Leicester. If he loses to Leicester, it's game over.
I agree.
He can't, right? But I wouldn't be surprised if it's a draw against Leicester. Even if he draws, because the whole stadium is going to turn. This is the first home game for a while. Yeah,
you're not losing at home.
There was a vicious video with the away supporters
on
the weekend.
We haven't won Leicester. No, not Leicester.
What will probably happen though is we'll probably win 4-0 and then we'll get all of the you don't know Ange ball, all the Ange lovers, and big up to Harry who's in the chat, by the way.
Do you know what? Funny story. So Friday night I was on Harry's show, right? And I came on. I was a bit late. No, I was a bit late because he asked me to come on like halfway through. So I came on, and they were talking about Everton, and we started going through the score predictions. And they basically said, all of them were like, no, we'll beat Everton. It came to me, because I was being quite negative about Ange as well. It came to me and I went, we ain't winning this. And they all went, oh, right? But yeah, they're all predicting wins against Everton. What did I say? And we lost anyway. I said draw and we lost. And I said we would not beat Everton. There was no way. We haven't beat David Moyes. Ange hasn't beat him. He drew 1 and lost 1 last year against West Ham. Correct me if I'm wrong, Stocky.
Yeah, I think that's correct.
Yeah, he was never beating Moyes. Moyes is a better manager than him.
Oh yeah, clearly.
Tactically, he is a better manager. So you knew fully well what was going to happen, and that's exactly what happened.
Just the one thing I don't return into Spurs show, but the one thing I don't get is the argument of it doesn't matter who we bring in. No one can do any better. I don't. This is the worst any manager has ever done, even under ENIC. I don't understand that argument at all.
No, but I put it like this, right? I'm sorry, boys, because this is Spurs ranting. This is how bad it is. Right?
I'm storing it up. I'll inject it when I'm running low in a couple of days.
Let's take the team that he put out on Sunday. I'm sorry, yeah. I don't care who we are, but that squad, that team that came out on Sunday, is good enough to be in the top 10. Injuries on injuries, right? And that's as far. Look, I don't expect us to be 15th. I expect us to be 10th, right? The fact we're 15th is embarrassing. And what's even worse is we haven't lost at Goodison Park for 12 years. 12 years. Done.
What I don't get is I watch a game like that, And the counter argument is we'll be better when our better players come back, which you can't really deny will be true. But when I watch this, and I think we're really poor, I don't think we're poor because Dragassin's not as good as Romero. I think we're poor because tactically we are so far off it. It doesn't matter if we implant Van Dijk and prime Maldini into the team. It ain't going to make a massive... It will make some difference, but it's not going to turn us into where I think we should be, which, in all honesty, is only like 7th, 8th at best. But I don't think we'll even get there, even with Romero. And when we did have all of them fit, we were still rubbish, right? Ipswich still beat us. I just think there's a very high chance now, more likely than not, that he's just a very, very poor manager at this level.
And which Mitch said, was it last week or 2 weeks ago? He's a poor manager and...
He's not a Premier League manager.
Nope.
And you compared him to Eddie Howe. How dare you?
You know what? Someone put... is he not just like Bielsa, but the Aussie version coming in? Like he played his way at Leeds, thought he was good, and then it comes crumbling down.
Bielsa had
I said earlier this season,
Bielsa had a track record for his arrogance.
Yeah, Russell Martin at Southampton is just Postecoglou with worse players
and better hair.
Yeah. Do you know what?
But the funny thing, if I'm not a Spurs fan,
it's personal as well with him.
Yeah.
MK Don days, mate.
For those of us watching the Spurs fans, I think the funny thing is that, I mean, I find it funny in a kind of masochistic way, but of all times for ENIC to decide that, no, this is the time we'll stick with the manager, it's this guy? Like, we've had Conte, Mourinho, no, let's not bother with them, but Ange will stick with them. What is going on? What is going on?
Do you know what as well, right? Just one more thing before we go, right? So if you look at the Premier League table right now, there's a bunch of clubs that are in, I think, from 13th to 16th. It might even be 17th. Oh, who are they? So
you're going to have to give me a minute. I haven't scrolled that far for a while.
Oh, no worries. At least we've got 4-1 against Bournemouth. Allow it, man, for this week. So Manchester United, West Ham, Tottenham, Everton and Wolves, yeah?
Yeah.
Big team.
It's a mini league of probably the worst owners in the Premier League this season. And probably in that.
Yeah, that's true.
I laugh how our owners are slightly worse than yours, because you complain that yours doesn't want to invest money, as does, but just really blindly.
No. So we invest money, Stocky. Don't get it twisted. We invest money. That argument falls flat on its face because we invest money. It's just that we just don't ever put it in the right areas, and we always make sure that we've we'll say it was Solanke and Tony were the options, right? Just for talking purposes. Yeah. Which one would we go after? The one who's got the cheaper wages. It don't matter what the names are. It's the one that's going to cost us to pay.
That's my problem. We throw wages at players just to get them to join us. I think that's what's been West Ham's major issue as well. Oh yeah, for years, mate.
So Ray, do you maybe think that maybe you guys need to switch your owners around? So West Ham need Levy, and Spurs need.
Oh, mate, that'd be wicked.
I'm not taking Cam Brady or what's his name, David.
She's terrible, mate.
I hear Mike Ashley wants to get back into the ownership game. Anyone?
I tell you, after my mistake last week, I'd take David Gold as our. Apologies once again to the Gold family.
Yeah.
Hey, Gold would be brilliant right now for us. He'd be making the best decisions.
Oh, mate, good
rest in peace, David Gold, man. Bless him. But on that note, fuck Sol Campbell. See you later.